It's good to be back from my little break I've been on this month, but my little break wasn't totally by choice. I had to have a tooth extracted, upper right hand side. So exactly where my cheek weld is. That meant no shooting for me until this morning. And I got to the range with the Winchester Model 70 Westerner and 270 that we've been tinkering with off and on throughout the year. And that range trip was interesting. So much so that we pretty much have a full-fledged accuracy and velocity mystery on our hands here. As most of you know, I've been experimenting with this rifle off and on for most of this year. And I was mainly using MagPro powder and 140 grain Hornady interlocks, bullets. And I just never could quite get this rifle where it needed to be. I'd carry it out one day and I'd shoot a little tiny group under 1/2 inch. I'd carry it out the next time with the same load, and all of a sudden I got a flyer and now I'm shooting a 2-inch group with the same load. And I finally just decided it was the load. It was just inherently unstable in this rifle for whatever reason. The powder, the primer, the bullet, whatever. It just wasn't stable. The slightest little change, after doing some different testing, length testing on seating depth and stuff like that, I just noticed the slightest little change and my groups would just go to pieces. My velocities would be all over the place. Well, that was the experimental stage. We were trying some stuff, which is a good thing to do with components being such short supply right now. Well, a couple weeks ago, I got my hands on some Hodgdon H4831, which that's my go-to powder for 270 Winchester. And deer season's getting close. I'm starting to feel the pressure here, and I need to get this rifle dialed in and ready for deer season. It's time for me to start scouting, not be trying to get a rifle to shoot. So, okay. I picked out a load. I went with the H4831, and a lot of y'all made a lot of different recommendations when I talked about this last time, and a lot of you recommended the 4831 too. But that's a powder that's just always done well for me in a 270. So I loaded up some loads with that and 130 grain Nosler Accubons. Now, you don't need Accubons or a premium bonded bullet for deer hunting. You seriously don't. But I had some on hand. And the reason I got them in the past, I had a 270 with 26-inch barrel that I was planning on really pushing hard on the velocity. What really high velocities, I wanted a tough 130 grain bullet for those high velocities. So that seemed like a good option. And I quickly found out, at least for me, those bullets just tend to shoot really well, especially with the H4831. So that's kind of become my go-to load for 270 if I need something that's going to just absolutely shoot. And I need something that's just absolutely going to shoot in this rifle. It's time for me to get this nailed down with something. So I loaded up my loads to try. I dropped that back 5% off the max charge, and then I had groups, 4 shots in each group, 5 groups, increasing my charge by 1% until I got back to the max. So I was doing my incremental testing and making sure, that I was good on pressures. Even though it's a load I've used many times, I've got tremendous confidence in it. It's still, you need to try the different charges to see what's going to shoot, but you also need to work your way up slowly just in case, just to be on the safe side. So that's what I did this morning. And it was interesting. Not what I expected. So let's take a look at it. All right, so here's the first group this morning.
This gun's shooting left, and then I shot 2 trees that were directly left. Come down here. And shooting it again. I just knocked it. felt good. It was good, clean shot.
Okay, we're off to a pretty good start here. I mean, 360 thousandths of an inch, 4-shot group. That's nothing to sneeze at out of a hunting rifle. But did you notice the velocities, how low they were? And that was my starting charge, so that's going to be the weakest charge, but still, that's pretty low. But all right, we got some different ones to try here, so let's see what we get. Let's look at group number 2. Okay, with a 1% increase in powder charge, we went from a 360 thousandths of an inch group to a 2-inch 100 thousandths inch group. It's not exactly what we're looking for. All right, let's look at group number 3. Okay, we seem to be consistent now. I got to give it that, but I don't know if we want to be consistently over 2 inches on our group sizes. So let's check out group number 4. Okay, maybe we're settling down now. 1 inch 700 thousandths, that's not great, but that's better than 2 inches 100 thousandths. And it really seemed like it was starting to settle in on those last 3 shots. So maybe group number 5 is going to be it. So let's see what we get here. That's not exactly what we're looking for out of this rifle. I wanted to set this up as a long-range precision rifle. I mean, it's 270, 24-inch barrel. That's what this rifle was made for. And that's what I got this rifle for. But there is something just not right with this rifle, and I can't tell you what it is. I honestly don't know. All right, let's start with the velocities. I knew this barrel was already on the slow side. And that's something, slow barrels, that's something that just isn't talked about near enough. But that's, I think that issue is a lot more common than what most people realize. It's just most people never shoot their rifle through a chronograph. So they don't know what velocities they're really getting. And there's some really just slow barrels out there. My friend Joey, he has a Winchester Model 70 Super Grade in 280 Remington. That rifle is absolutely as slow as molasses. His 7mm 08 shooting the exact same grain bullet is faster than that super grade shooting a 280. All right, that 280 should be significantly faster than 7mm 08. It's not. It's significantly slower. That's the barrel. He has a slow barrel. I've got a couple of rifles with slow barrels. That's just part of it. Sometimes you get a slow barrel. And truthfully, I don't think anybody really understands why. I mean, there's a lot of different factors, and I've heard a lot of different things like throat depth and chamber, and the internal dimensions of the barrel itself, the inside diameter, all that good stuff. I don't think anybody really understands it though. For instance, throat depth. If the throat of your chamber is too deep, all right, so you end up with a large distance from where your bullet is sitting until it actually contacts the lands. All right, if you've got a big gap there, you'll lose velocity. But I'm hand loading. I know where the distance is to my lands, and I'm approximately 23 thousandths off the lands with my loads. No, that's not the problem. Okay, so again, even with high-end custom barrels, you can still just get a slow barrel. It happens, that's part of it. I just assumed this one would pick up velocity as I got some more rounds through it, because it's not uncommon at all to pick up 50 or 60 feet per second after you get 100 rounds or so through a barrel. So I thought, okay, get some rounds through this one, my velocity should start to come up. They didn't. All right, so it's just, whatever's causing that, it's there. And I hear a lot of people talk about, all right, chronographs. I've got the old, just standard chronograph, and I hear, okay, well, those aren't accurate. You can't trust those velocities. Okay, except for I've shot other rifles through that same chronograph at the exact same time that I was shooting this one, the Winchester Featherweight. I've got a pre-64 Winchester Featherweight chambered in 270, and a lot of y'all saw it earlier in the year when I was shooting it and this rifle at the same time at the range, using factory ammo, the same factory ammo, and both rifles are both 270s. The pre-64, the 1960 Featherweight with the 22-inch barrel was faster than this rifle with the exact same factory ammo. All right, so I suspect it wasn't significantly faster, but it was faster. All right, so maybe my chronograph velocities were slightly off. Okay, they were what they should have been with that 1960 Featherweight though. All right, so same setup, chronograph in the same position, nothing changed except for the rifle. This rifle was slower than that 1960 Featherweight. All right, so I see a lot of things out there when I read up on slow barrels that, people come up with reasons for why that's happening, but the reasons I commonly see, I know that's not the case. So honestly, I just don't think we really know. Anybody does. We can all take a stab at it and guess, but I don't think anybody really fully understands it. And it's probably a combination of a lot of factors. I don't know. But I know this one's slow. Thankfully, it's not as slow as Joey's Super Grade, and he bought that rifle brand new. Because that was from the factory, and again, I've seen it with other factory rifles. It's not just Winchester. We're going to talk about slow barrels later on in depth, because that's just something that really needs to be talked about. But that aside, all right, let's throw that out. We know we're slow on this rifle, or slower than we should be. But it can still shoot tiny groups. I've seen a lot of tiny groups out of this rifle. The very first group I shot today. Okay, and I let it cool down between groups. All right, so that first group wasn't while the barrel was cool. The barrel was cool for every group I shot today. But one thing I did notice, was this rifle was consistently picking up velocity with each shot in each group. So for every group I fired today, the fourth shot had a higher velocity than the first shot. And looking at the numbers, the second shot was usually faster than the first, the third was usually faster than the second, the fourth usually faster than the third. It wasn't in every case, but it was consistent, really consistent. So there's something going on here, and I'm just not exactly sure what it is. And then with the groups, you don't normally go from a 360 thousandths of an inch group to a 2 inch 100 thousandths inch group with a 1% change in powder charge. You don't normally see that. And that gets back to what I was saying about this rifle when I was trying the MagPro powder, that it just wasn't consistent. It wasn't stable. The slightest little change and all of a sudden you get huge velocity changes or huge changes in your group. That's what we got here. Even with the H4831, which is the most stable powder I know of in a 270. That's the powder that made the 270. It was, I'm sure, IMR 4831 at the time, but they're both pretty close, and the H4831's been out for an awful long time now. Matter of fact, it might have even predated the IMR, I'm not sure. All right, so that powder's been out forever. It has been the powder for 270 for decades, literally. And here we are. So I'm just gonna have to really scratch my head on this one. And we're getting close to deer season. I know it does not feel like it right now, but this is one place a lot of people mess up, is they wait to that last second to start getting their rifle ready. And trust me, I know I've been there, done that too many years. I'm trying to do better. I'm trying not to be out there at the range, the night before opening day with my headlights shining down the range, because it's already pitch black dark and I need the lights to see the target. I don't want to be out there doing that again. So I'm trying to, get this, settled in, set up, get it right ahead of time, and then get on to my scouting. I don't know if we're going to figure this problem out before deer season, and truthfully, I don't know if we're ever going to figure this problem out. But there's something with this rifle. Maybe I go to another load. Maybe I try another bullet, another powder, and everything just clicks. All right, and it just, my accuracy really comes in. I'm questioning that right now, though. I've still only tried basically 2 loads, with the MagPro and the 140 grain interlocks, and then now the H4831 and the Accubons. I mean, there's still a lot more experimenting I could do, and it just might want a particular bullet and powder. But I'm really starting to get some serious questions on that, especially with what I'm seeing in the velocity. So yeah, we've got a mystery going on, and I'm going to scratch my head hard on this and see if I can't come up with, what am I going to check on this rifle next? What am I going to try next? And I got to get something going quick here, because I'm planning on one more trip to the range this year before deer season. That's to zero my rifles to my muzzleloader and FN. So I could handle load testing that day, but we're pushing it at this point. Season's getting close, and I don't know that this rifle's going to be ready this year. Oh well. All right, so I'm going to scratch my head. If any of you have any ideas, comment below, please. And God bless. Have a good day.